So I'm going to show you this picture. Take a guess. What do you think this is? Like, describe that. What do you think that is?
So I'm looking at 3 separate photos here. Kind of looks like, it's funny. The first thing that comes to mind is I did a study abroad experience in St. Andrews, Scotland. Okay. And they had like rolling hills of golf courses, and they kind of had, so I'm looking at these like kind of rolling hills with grass over them. And it was very fun to play this style of golf course because you could kind of hit shots off these banks that are kind of like these rolling hills, and it would maybe fade back into the fairway. Made it very interesting. So I guess what I'm guessing is, I wonder, are these like landfills that they put grass over?
Okay, so look at the picture. You see the trees there, right?
Correct.
So that's the scale of these hills or mounds, whatever.
So I'm guessing they're at least like,
They're humongous.
50, 60, 70 feet high.
What would you describe that as? Do you see it as more as hills or like mounds?
Yeah, just kind of like mounds. Like they don't look natural by any means, right? They look like, so this is something kind of man-made. But yeah, kind of like these weird sort of rolling mounds, lumps. What am I looking at?
Okay, so these are actually ancient tombs of kings from the ancient Shilla dynasty.
Okay.
So these are all about 1,500 years old apiece. And there's the city called Gyeongju, which used to be the capital city of the Shilla dynasty, which started in like 50 BC and went all the way up to like 930 AD, something like that. So a pretty extensive history. And this is just, it's just collection of their kings. Who really knows? But it's thought to be a royal cemetery essentially.
Okay.
But it's so beautiful there. You see all these hills, and it's like a park essentially now, and you can just kind of walk around. And I don't know, man. When I was there and seeing all these tombs, kind of felt like a connection, to the past. To the land, maybe?
To the motherland.
Yeah, to the motherland for sure. I mean, because these are like essentially my ancestors, right? This is my bloodline. And, I think it's so important that we feel a connection to our communities from time to time, whether it be where we live or whether it be, maybe organizations that we're a part of. I think, a big part of modern life today is we're missing out on this connection to nature and in some ways to our past, right? We feel like we're individuals living in a vacuum. Whereas if you even look like 300, 400, 500 years ago, before like electricity was around, we didn't have all these light pollution in our big cities. And believe it or not, when you turn off all the lights, there's a lot of stars up there.
There are.
And, ancient peoples have always looked at the stars, and it was a real connection. They built stories around them. They built there's a lot of astronomy where the lights line up in a certain way, like incredible stuff. So they were very in tune with their environment. And I feel like we lose that in our modern society today. It's all about technology, and we don't really have this connection to nature anymore. So for me, it was just like really gratifying to be in that kind of environment and, feel like I was part of something bigger than myself. What do you think about that, Logan? Do you feel like that's silly? Because, in America, like we don't really have that kind of history, right? Like 300 years for us is a long time. Whereas this stuff is like 1,500 years.
Right. No, I don't think that's silly at all. I like to, and I like to be open and honest. Like, I'm not someone who necessarily believes in that God created humans. I think that we evolved over, like I said, hundreds of thousands of years, and I remember I went on a trip to Mexico, and I'm certainly not Mexican, but I was with people who are of Mexican descent, and they kind of talked about that same kind of like ancient connection, like this bloodline, and my bloodline is kind of scattered, of course, through who knows exactly where of Northern Europe, whether it's Ireland, Norway, Denmark is where some of my ancestors perhaps came from, but who really knows? But I don't think that's stupid at all, and I think that kind of it allows you to almost take a step back and realize how finite maybe our lives are, and realize that, I like to almost think about like this person who I am today. Would my great grandfather be proud of the person who I am today? This bloodline that's like, you can, in many ways, you could even think about like you share what percentage of your DNA with those ancestors that you literally were walking in, amongst their tombstones. Those kind of ideas like get me excited, and how are you applying skills that they learned in their life and philosophies in the world we live in today?